नमस्कार। आज मैं फिर से एक मूवी ट्रेलर लेके आया हूँ। दिस इज़ माय थर्ड मूवी ट्रेलर रिएक्शन। इससे पहले मैं गोदरा और आर्टिकल 370 पे भी रिएक्शन दे चुका हूँ। आर्टिकल 370 आई गॉट द चांस ऑफ वॉचिंग इट इन थिएटर्स एंड इट इज़ अ वेरी गुड मूवी। आई वुड रिकमेंड ईच एंड एवरी वन ऑफ यू टू गो एंड वॉच इट. Especially, I would like to appreciate the background score of the movie. It keeps you on your seat's edge throughout the movie, and the music can either break the movie or make the movie. So, for me, it was the making moment of that movie. Apart from that, acting was very good. Or I could get into more details of that. If you want me to make a separate video reviewing the movie, then I can do it. Please tell me in the comments. Anyway, coming to this video, the movie that I'm going to react to is Swatantrya Veer Savarkar. It's gonna be releasing on 22nd March, and it stars Randeep Hooda, Ankita, Lokhande. So let's start the trailer. I will give link to the original video in the description. Go and check it out. Come and react with me. Let's start.
हम सब ने पढ़ा है कि भारत को आजादी अहिंसा से ही मिली है। ये वो कहानी नहीं है।
You met him once, so what do you say?
Quite frankly, sir, he's the most dangerous man I've ever met. Because in just one meeting, he almost had me convinced.
We played a little bit with the audience क्योंकि शुरू में बोला कि हम सब ने सुना है कि अहिंसा से मिली है, which was hinting towards Mahatma Gandhi, and then they showed his feet, which somewhat resembled Mahatma Gandhi's feet, that like we would imagine his feet to be. So, and then they completely switched the narrative. So that was a little bit funny for me. And also, if you remember the teaser, there was a Mahatma Gandhi's music playing in the background, और drawing भी महात्मा गांधी की ही बन रही थी with the specs and everything, and then it suddenly transformed into Savarkar. So they have been playing with that from the beginning.
We are in the wrong.
1857 की लड़ाई में हिंदू और मुसलमान एक होकर लड़े थे, क्योंकि देश धर्म से ऊपर होता है। मातश्री ने अखंड इटली बनाया था, हम अखंड भारत बनाएंगे।
Sorry to interrupt again so quickly. The books that we see in the trailer are copies of the original book that Savarkar authored, which was The First War of Indian Independence, 1857. So Savarkar was referring that the mutiny which happened in 1857 as the First War of Indian Independence, and which should be the ideological guide for the future generations and result in the Second War of Indian Independence, which will dethrone the British Empire. So there was a full complete volume authored by Savarkar.
सागर के उस पार जाने से अशुभ हो सकता है।
अरे ये सागर तो भारत माता के चरण धोता है। पूरी दुनिया घुमा के मुझे फिर से तुम्हारे पास ले आएगा।
सावरकर जी, myself M.K. गांधी। हिंसा से संघर्ष हो सकता है पर समाधान नहीं।
मैं ऐसे लोगों को ढूंढ रहा हूं जो जिंदा अंग्रेजों का कलेजा फाड़ के खा जाए। अब बातों और मीटिंगों का समय समाप्त। हमें यहाँ से भारत बंदूकें भेजनी होंगी और अंग्रेजी फौज में अपने सिख भाइयों को चिट्ठी लिखनी होगी कि वो बगावत के लिए तैयार रहें। 1912 तक हम इनको मार मार के भगा देंगे या इनको मारते मारते मर जाएंगे।
पहली बार किसी को 2 उम्र कैद की सजा दी है।
ऊपर वाले ने एक जिंदगी दी थी, जज साहब ने 2 दे दी।
आज हम अंग्रेजों के पक्ष में लड़ेंगे तो कल वो भी हमारी मदद करेंगे।
जर्मनी और जापान के आधुनिक हथियारों के साथ अंग्रेजों पे हमला कीजिए।
मैं इस महान किताब को अंग्रेजी में ट्रांसलेट करके नई पीढ़ी तक पहुंचाना चाहता हूं।
ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मोहम्मद रसूल अल्लाह। ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह मोहम्मद रसूल अल्लाह। दो खाना इसको।
ये आजाद हिंदुस्तान में डेमोक्रेसी नहीं बल्कि सल्तनत चाहते हैं।
अंग्रेजों के जाने के बाद भारत को सल्तनत बनाने का प्रयास किया गया, तो हम मुगलों का राज दोबारा नहीं आने देंगे। फौज में भर्ती हो जाओ, ट्रेनिंग लो, फिर समय बताएगा कि उस बंदूक की नली किस ओर घुमानी है। से प्यार करने वाले हम सब हिंदू हैं। अखंड भारत की, अखंड भारत की। आपने कभी सोचा है कि कांग्रेस के किसी मेंबर को काला पानी की सजा क्यों नहीं हुई?
So much to unpack in this. First thing that I noticed, मैं बीच में इंटरप्ट नहीं करना चाहता था, it was Mahatma Gandhi's encounter with Savarkar, which I remember reading about in Vikram Sampat's first volume of biography of Savarkar, in which Mahatma Gandhi paid visit to India House, where Savarkar and all his friends resided, and जहाँ पे ये पूरी movement चल रही थी. So Gandhi had heard about that movement कि हाँ India House में there is some kind of freedom movement going on amongst the youngsters. Then Gandhi went to visit Savarkar. और जो उस बीच में जो बातें हुई थी, where Gandhi was advocating his principles of non-violence, and Savarkar was saying that freedom cannot be easily taken from the British. It has to be snatched or something, like by force only it can happen. So that was the discussion that we saw, a glimpse of that discussion in this. Secondly, I saw that there was a episode of Subhash Chandra Bose talking with Savarkar. That is where Savarkar is advising him to use Japan and Germany's weapons. Now, which led to something very interesting later on. I don't know if this was the meeting which resulted in what happened later on, but Subhash Chandra Bose did tour Japan, did go and meet Hitler later on, where he asked for his support in overthrowing the British, because at the time of World War II, the British were enemies of Germans and Japan and Japanese. And then there was another scene in which a lot of conversion was happening inside the jail. So that is something which is very extensively mentioned in his biography as well, where there were certain sects within the Andaman jail where Savarkar was being held. And in these sects, there was rampant conversion of people into Islam or other religions. Basically, it was Islam only. There was no other religion as well. So Savarkar had formed his own sect. He was trying to oppose what was happening inside the jail. And that is when he came up with his idea of hindutva, and his version of hindutva. It's not something that he gave to the world completely, but there was a version of hindutva that Savarkar gave. And that is when he penned this down. He noticed कि जो conversions हो रहे थे, it was because people in the Hindu fold were feeling discriminated against because of their castes, because of certain practices. So Savarkar wrote down in his idea of Hindutva कि we should give up the idea of caste discrimination altogether. We should forget about caste, and every Hindu should come together and form a strong unit like Islamists or Muslims do. And then he came up with certain more ideas, like worshipping of cow is not something desirable in modern times. We should care about cow, we should take care of it, we should give it respect, but not consider it an outright god. That is something else that he came up in his idea. And there were certain more ideas. So that is it. Next, there was a scene where a soldier from ship was shooting at him while he was in the water. Now, I have mentioned about this episode in one of my videos. I think it was Why British Left India, one of the parts. So I will give a brief about that. What happened is, when Savarkar was arrested in London, there is another whole episode how he was arrested. But it's not relevant to this part of the story anyway. So Savarkar was being held on the shores of some other country. I think it was France, I guess, where I don't know if it was France. I could be completely wrong, but it was not Britain. It was something completely different country. So Savarkar was being held at the shores of that country in a ship which was due to depart in like 10 days for India, where his trial would be conducted. So he escaped somehow, like sliding through the lavatory hole into the ocean. and that's the scene where the soldiers are shooting at him. He manages to swim to the shore, run inside in that country's territory, and demand for asylum. However, the soldiers who heard him did not understand or speak English, so they could not hear like what he was talking about. And then Savarkar was captured and transported back to the ship. Now, this whole incident was reported widely in the international media, and there was an outrage. How could British soldiers arrest someone outside of their jurisdiction? If Savarkar had demanded asylum, then he should have been granted asylum, or at least had been heard by the authorities. There were so many technicalities that later followed in his trial, so many witnesses, so many accounts that were overlooked, and he was sentenced to double life imprisonment. And later on also, like, people claim that he wrote mercy petitions, but it was like a rampant practice inside the prisons. Every prisoner wrote mercy petitions, because it was like let's say there is certain celebrations going on in Britain or in India about, let's say, anniversary of the king, or some babies born, some whatever, there are some celebrations going on. Then in that celebration, the king would pardon some of the political prisoners. So those political prisoners would be asked to write petitions. So everyone that was being held at Savarkar's prison wrote petitions. And Savarkar knew that his status is not of an ordinary prisoner. So in some of the petitions, he wrote that if my release is blocking the way of release of my other friends who are inside this prison, then please don't release me, release them. Let me not be the holding block for their freedom. So that is also mentioned in one of his petitions. And then there are certain claims कि सावरकर ने help किया था Britishers को in recruiting soldiers against the Quit India movement or something. But I would say, I don't know exactly what happened because I haven't read the second volume yet. But I would say that Mahatma Gandhi also recruited soldiers in world wars. So if that is the standard that we are holding for Savarkar, then it should be held for other people as well. So I don't know whether Savarkar actually recruited or not, but the fact that Mahatma Gandhi recruited is not contradicted by anyone. It is an accepted fact of history. So good trailer. I will try to catch this movie as well in theaters. Let's see what happens. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for this long monologue. And I'll see you guys in the next one.